our special board meeting this evening. It's July 30th, and I'd like to call this meeting to order. Can I please have a roll call, Pat?
Lori Musser.
Here.
Derek Anders.
Present.
Dr. Joseph.
Here.
Jeff Cope.
Present.
Brent Jordan.
Present.
Dr. Debbie Ford.
Present.
And Sheriff Dermott.
Here. Thank you, Pat. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Board members, we have our agenda before us. I would ask that we switch items E and D so that we would handle the revision of the school calendar first. I think that will take less time. If there being no objections, I'd take a motion.
So moved.
Sir, could I add
Yeah,
to that?
please.
I think we have a lot of members of the public here, and there's not a section on there.
Yeah. well,
After speaking with
Yeah.
Susan Goldhammer, she indicated that a vote, if we indicated that was something that we would want to do, we could add that to the agenda.
I'm sorry. add
So
what?
I would move that we add
Public comment?
an item to our agenda for public comments regarding the posted agenda action items.
That is great. Would you like that before we actually discuss the reentry plan or after?
I believe before,
I
perhaps, the
agree.
next item.
So that would be item C-1 or something. Making it up as we go. So we have two amendments. We're flipping items D and E. So actually, it would be item D1. Pardon me.
And we should vote on that.
And we should vote on
Yes.
that.
And I'll
Yes.
second your motion.
So it's been moved by Brent, seconded by Derek, that we have this agenda as amended. Does that make sense, Pat? Have I totally fouled you up?
I got you.
Thank you, ma'am. Please vote.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, that takes us to the second revision of the 2020-2021 calendar. That's an action item for Dr. Moss.
Yes. As you know, we have a statute in Missouri that was put in place, well, the legislature actually put it in place long before we even knew about COVID, over a year ago. And that was driven in large part by the tourism industry and many reasons why they wanted us to start school later. So the original earliest date that we could start school was August 24th. And the first calendar that our board approved was that start date. And then COVID happened. And as a result of that, there was a provision that the State Board of Education could enact in certain emergencies that we could revise our calendar start dates. And we did that. We went through a big process with our calendar committee. We had a hearing here at one of our board meetings. And then ultimately, we submitted a waiver request to the Commissioner of Education. And at that time, it made sense because I think we had only maybe 1 or 2 active cases in our community. And at that time, we were also looking at the benefits of starting school earlier and thinking that COVID would act like other flu season items and probably diminish in the summer. And then we wanted the extra wellness days in the middle of the winter if we needed them. So since that time, we know that COVID has grown in our state and in our community. And we're looking at our reentry plan and some of the days that have been pushed back. And now we're feeling that for numerous reasons, including orders that we've placed for extra electronic devices, extra PPE and things that we need to implement our safety plan, those delivery dates have been pushed back. As well, we need more professional development for our teachers to look at curriculum and technology integration and other things that we know we need to put in place in whatever reentry plan ends up being approved. So for numerous reasons, and those being some highlights, administration would recommend that the Board of Education adopt the revised calendar for the 2021 school year, which goes back to the student start date of August 24th, and you have a copy, I believe, at your seats. Yes, Pat?
Yes, and it's on the website.
And that is the exact same calendar that you approved originally with one change. We have taken 2 of the teacher professional development days that were embedded in the calendar before. Those would have taken place November 2nd and February 15th, and we have moved those to the Monday and Tuesday, which is the first week of the teachers coming back. So the November 2nd date and the February 15th date was going to be teacher professional development days. Those will now be days that we will not be in school, both for teachers and students.
The only thing I see that needs changed is the date. It says August 24th, 2029.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Oh, well, that was a typo.
That would be a serious.
I don't think we need to be out of school that long.
Yeah,
Yeah, sorry about that.
good catch.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion to approve the revised calendar for 2020-21 as presented with that one change?
So moved with the change on the 2021, yes.
Thank you, Derek.
Second.
Thank you, Jeff. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the revised calendar backing the start of school back to August 24, 2020. Please vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, folks. That takes us, I believe, to our guests that would like to speak. We have a couple of people that I've got on here. I believe I'm correct on the order on the agenda. I have a Michelle Phillips and a Jay Marley. Unless that's more lag. I don't know. I apologize for that. So let me make a little statement. You will have 3 minutes once you approach the podium. Only items posted from the agenda may be discussed. To speak to matters on the agenda, an individual must complete this form. Thank you, you've done that. When you approach the standing microphone, please give your name and address. Please do not identify any district personnel or student by name or by any other identifiable information. Ms. Phillips, if you're here, please feel free to come up and speak. Welcome. Relax, and we're here to hear you.
My name is Michelle Phillips. You said my address, 2801 Ohio Avenue. I wanted to come on behalf of the students of Joplin High School that I deal with at least weekly because my husband and I are youth pastors. Several of them have brought to us their concerns, especially I even have 2 athletes. And we feel like that the 5 days a week, they should be able to go without it being split up. Because the reasons why they're going to be exposed, whether they're there 5 days, 2 days, or 3 days, if they're going to be exposed. Several students deal with mental health issues as far as home situations, not having friends, their parents working, needing that community and needing that normalcy back in their life because it's been a long time since they've had it. They've had to sacrifice a lot. There's been concerns that some students can't do the virtual learning on those other days because they can't focus. And we feel like we're going to see GPAs drop, more dropouts, the dropout rate rise, suicide rates go back up on the rise because they're not going to know what to do with themselves. They're not going to have that community. They're not going to have each other because it's going to be split. The camaraderie is going to be different. We'll see drug and alcohol uses rise because they're going to be home. They're not going to have that community and teacher support and everything if they're home and not in the school. I feel like we've had youth events. There's been sporting events all summer. My daughter plays softball. All that's been done and it's been fine. We had the summer school session run and that was a success. So I just like to say that I feel like if our students are going to go back, that they should be able to go their 5 days and not be split up in this A to K and K to Z situation. And if the parents choose to do virtual, I totally respect that because each person should be able to choose what they feel is best for their child. But some of us that want the 5 days, it's kind of feeling like that we're not getting that choice because we're being forced into a virtual learning situation whether that's what we chose or we didn't, and we have to do what's best for our children and do what's best for our students and be their voice for them. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. That brings up, is it Mr. Marley or Morlag? Marley, thank you. Hi, Mr. Marley. Please, when you approach the standing microphone, please give your name and address, and then please do not identify any district personnel or student by name or by any other identifiable information. Welcome.
Thank you, Joplin School Board. My name is Jay Marley. I live at 2601 West Summit. I'm the parent of 2 Joplin Eagles, a former Joplin Eagle and one currently in school. I'm here to advocate for my friends, family, that when we decide to reopen, that we go to a 5-day brick and mortar school week like every other district in the area. You've sent out a survey. I believe the survey said 70% of the parents support that, 30% don't. What I would recommend is do a platform, a virtual platform that mirrors the 5-day brick and mortar so that when COVID happens, as it's going to, we can turn the switch if we have to shut down and go straight to virtual. If we have students that are compromised, that can't attend, are unwilling, or when they catch COVID need to go to a virtual environment, we can turn that switch because COVID's going to happen. This school district has gone through adversity in the past. We can do it. We can come through it. And our request as parents is, let's get back to normal, 5 days a week. I have total confidence in the leadership at the high school that he can corral the kids and do his best to do the social distancing. I have total confidence in the leadership. I know the individual, and he can do his best, and that's good enough for me, and that's good enough for the parents that I represent. We talked, I think the vote was, we're going to do a part virtual, part non-virtual. So my daughter is going to be Monday, Tuesday, so her friends go Tuesday, Thursday. So she's going to be basically virtual and non-existent to her friends is what you're going to force her to do. So let's go 5 days a week. You're going to go to virtual to do social distancing because we can't corral 2,300 kids in a 400,000 square foot building. But yet on Friday night, Monday night, and Tuesday night, we're going to allow our sports to go mingle with students from other districts. They're going to come, they're not going to social distance, there's going to be transfer of body fluids on the football field, and then they're going to go back. And then you're going to introduce those students back into the high school, into that petri dish that you're wanting to protect. We can't protect them. But as a school district, we can get through this. We got through the tornado. It's just another event that we can come through this. We're Joplin Eagles. Let's unite. Let's decide. Let's move forward as a unity. And whatever adversity we hit in October, we'll get through this. But 5 days a week, brick and mortar, a virtual overlay, and let's have football. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marley. That brings us to our next agenda item, which is consideration of the fall 2020 district reentry plan. That's again with Ms. Mwangi. I would invite Dr. Gilbert back up. I suspect that we're going to have a bit of a conversation, and it makes sense that we would do that.
I would also like to add to the original plan from, given the approval of the start date of the 24th, that we extend virtual enrollment until next Thursday at the end of the day, August 6th, to allow for more time, but still give us time to produce those virtual and in-class rosters. So that on the original plan said the 4th, I would ask that be the Thursday, August 6th.
Thank you. So I would open the floor to discussion.
Sarah, I have a question that I don't know that it indicated it in the reentry plan, but I did read an article that stated it. But what about the kids from Franklin Tech? Will they be 5 days a week or just the 2 or 3? I don't know that it indicated it in here, not that I could find.
They would be 5 days a week.
Okay.
And as well as any special need IEP situations that would require their IEP to be met 5 days a week.
And so if they're 5 days a week and they're non-Franklin Tech classes, would they be 2 or 3 days a week for those other classes? So they would come to school for 3 hours and then do they get a bus ride home? Or do they wait till the end of the day to ride the bus home?
It just depends. Most of those kids, well, those kids are juniors and seniors.
So they require transfer.
I don't know, so I'm,
Right.
yeah.
No, no.
Okay. And could they stay the rest of the day if they're there?
Good. I mean, since
I-
they're that's because there's only about 275.
So there's 275 in that group.
Well,
Okay.
Is that 275 in Franklin Tech?
yes, correct.
Is that 275 considered in the 2,300 students
Yes.
total?
Well, it's somewhere between 275 and 300. We have sitting schools as well. Yeah.
I had some questions about, sent to me about the mask policy, and I believe I know the answer, but I'd like for someone to go over our mask policy again, just so the public can hear that, as to why we're not requiring students in middle school and high school to wear their masks full-time.
And I forget which page our mask policy is articulated, but it's within the plan. If you could scroll up, Eric. And what?
Page 10, Eric, starts 10 and 11.
And the guidance that we've received is that it's not feasible for students to wear masks throughout an entire school day, and that for good mask protocol, it's better if we give frequent mask breaks, per se, and then that it's just contraindicated for children to wear masks all day. So that's why you'll find in our mask policy, and as I talk, mine keeps wanting to crawl down my chin, is that students will wear them on the buses, they'll arrive at school with their mask, then once they have their temperature taken and they're with their classroom and their cohort groups, they've gotten their grab-and-go breakfast, then in those moments they can take their mask off. When there are times, let's say, that a teacher needs to pair students up for a lab experiment, let's say, or they're looking in the microscope, or they're having to go outside their seated cohort, seating charts for everything, that'll be times they mask up. If the teacher needs to come right over and lean over, little Derek and help him with his math problems, they're gonna mask up so that we can reduce the respiratory spread as much as possible. But wearing one all day, every class hour, we're told is just not feasible for students.
I would be in support of allowing teachers to request or encourage their students to wear their masks within their classroom. How would they go about doing that? Discuss it with their administrator?
Yeah, we've had that question asked a few times today. So what we're asking our teachers to do is that if they feel like they themselves have an underlying health condition or something that would require that under accommodation, then they need to contact HR, and we have procedures to go through with that. Because we want to be feasible and we want to be reasonable, and we want to be sensitive to those that have those underlying conditions. We also get questions from students, and haven't really gotten one that I know of from staff members, but we've also heard that some underlying health conditions are contraindicative of wearing a mask at all. So we would also encourage those situations to get with us, get their doctor's documentation, and we need to look at those that would perhaps never wear a mask.
Mindy, may I make a comment, please?
Sure.
Okay, I had several. First of all, thank you to all the parents and community members and teachers that have reached out to me in Colorado. I tried to respond to everyone. If I missed someone, I apologize. I had middle school teachers contact me, and the concern is, from their point of view, is they don't have a cohort group. On elementary, we have a cohort. They come to our classroom, they stay in our classroom, they stay with us. But on middle school, they're changing class to class to class to class, and the concern was that the room size doesn't allow them to distance 6 feet between students, and so on that level, they were requesting that they be allowed to ask the students to wear masks. A side personal note is being in Colorado this week, they have a strong mask ordinance. I have 5 grandchildren with me, ranging from ages 2, 7, 10, 13. It's very interesting. One of my 7-year-olds has kept his mask on all the time. My 13-year-old has been the one that didn't want to wear it. But my best hint is get a lanyard, because it's the best thing. We have our mask on lanyards. When you don't have to wear it, you take it off, but you don't lose it.
Good idea.
You're not,
That's my comment. Thank you.
you're not the first one that's bragged on the lanyards as a way to store it. And you're right, at the middle school and the high school, then you've got new challenges as students are rotating classes more. And we're maintaining those seating charts, and we're seating alphabetically in those instances, so that hopefully as we move from classroom to classroom, it may not be exactly the same ring of contact, but we can somehow keep it somewhat consistent as they're moving through the day. And you're right, that articulates the greater challenge at the middle school and high school level.
So I think what I heard you tell Lori was they would work with their administrator if they felt like they had conditions requiring masks.
Yes, and then please call HR as well.
Okay, thank you.
I've got a question on the masks. So on the school buses or anywhere they can't social distance, they're going to wear a mask. The one thing I have, and I think this was brought up on Tuesday, is in between classes at the high school, students unable to social distance, and I think, Dr. Moss, was that you that sent the picture that was sent?
The hallway picture, yes.
Okay, if everybody's wearing a mask, because we're doing it on school buses, because you can't social distance really on a school bus, on a full bus, and the high school students are wearing a mask during the time that they're going from class to class. And of course, I remember in school, the teachers come out of their classrooms and kind of monitor what's going on in the hall. I think our class kind of screwed around a lot more than probably what happens these days, but if we're wearing a mask and the mask kind of negates the social distancing, I'm having a hard time with the issue of not being able to go 5 days because we're not able to social distance. I mean, we have a large high school. I believe it's 485,000 square feet. I come tonight, I've got square footage of every school, high school in the area, trying to figure square footage per student. Hypothetically, and I don't even care about the notes because I want to speak just from the heart. Hypothetically, it takes 48 square feet to social distance. That's 8 feet. You're sitting in the middle. You have 4 in front of you, 4 behind you, 2 3/4 on each side. Well, then I've got another person that's 4 and 4, 2 3/4. So we're within 6 inches of social distancing. Well, if I'm wearing a mask, it doesn't matter. I mean, it does. The COVID is going to come and the COVID's going to go. I have an issue of not being able, we're already 3 months behind. Every student in this district, every district in the country that quit at the third quarter or semester, we're 3 months behind. When we go back to school, are we starting where we left off, or are we picking up for 8th grade? I'm fortunate. My son is very, very intelligent. He scores very high on IQ. I don't know where he gets it. Probably his mother, because it's not me. My daughter struggles. She's 3 months behind. Now, I did the math. Of course, we got with some teachers and we did math, the gaming on the computers during the summer. She's still three months behind. I love the little girl, but right now she's struggling, and it's tough. If we can send the young kids to school, we have 485,000 square feet of high school. Webb City's 140, 150. Carthage is 201. Of course, we have more students, but we also have a larger space. Another concern is the social, and I think you brought that up. My son has a couple buddies that he will not go to school with. I wish his principal was here, because he knows when he's around his buddies, he tends to act a little better because he's got one that pushes him and he's got one that goes, you better not do that. So he's got the good devil and the angel sitting on his shoulders. So I kind of wonder, how many more phone calls can I get from that principal to go have a talk with my son because he screwed up again? I don't believe there's an issue with going 5 days. We're already behind. We're dumbing down of the student. It's dumbing down of the country. We can go on and on about this all day long. This is the start of my 4th year, my 2nd term. Yesterday and today, I've not been able to stay off the phone. I haven't put out reports because the phone's been off the hook. This is the first time in the start of 4 years that it has been positive. I've come into board meetings and I've said, I've had threats of someone wanting to come, you're going to come with me. Well, come on, come do it. We made a decision for the students. Every single phone call, every text, every messenger message was positive because of just standing up. These people want their kids to go to school. I had messages from Carl Junction parents. Some of them, they were sending a friend request so you can get a message. I don't know how all that works. We're the only district that's not going 5 days. Every other district's going to go 5 days. Personal opinion, we're going to make every other student other than one in this district, and I'm not taking anything from any of our students, but those students are going to have a better learning opportunity. Unfortunately, everybody gets cold, everybody gets the flu. We don't live in a zero-risk world, period. These kids have a better chance of getting hurt on a school bus than they do dying from COVID. I'm asking, I believe in you, Dr. G and Sarah. I think you guys do a phenomenal job, and I'll never take anything. But there's no reason why we can't go to school 5 days. I'm almost positive I speak for a lot of parents, probably a lot less that don't want to. We were elected to make the best decisions for our children's education, not wiping their butt, not wiping snot off their nose. Education, period. There is no reason. I'm going to stand firm on this. I don't really have much more comments. Everybody knows where I stand, period. Yeah, I'm not going to back down. This vote may go through tonight. We took a survey. 8% did not want to come back to school. 8%. 92% want to go back to school 5 days. My personal thought, and don't take this wrong way, this is me being a jerk right now. If that's the way the administration wants to run this, then instead of sending a survey out, send them a piece of paper and say, hey, this is what we're going to do. No, I don't care what you think. This is how it's going to be done, period. And let's actually just send them an email so we don't waste paper. That's all I have to, I'm standing firm on 5 days a week. If our young kids can do it, K through 8, our high school kids, if the high school kids are not smart enough to wear the mask, when we ask them to wear the mask, I don't want to say something that I'm going to regret because I am a business owner, I'm a parent. We have we can utilize gyms and everything. We just spent, and I'm going to go off memory, $100,000 for licensing and tables and chairs, and let's utilize those. There was a teacher on Facebook that spent money on PVC fittings and shower curtains so they could put 4 desks together so nobody could cough on each other. There's no reason why we can't go to school 5 days a week. And we're hearing from a small amount of parents now I think the majority speaks. We can't just take what a few board members or a few parents, we can't not educate our students to the best of our ability because we all know virtual is not the way to go. You cannot teach a student virtually and have them retain that information. I mean, if that's the case, we could just Google everything we need to know. Why even go to school? I mean, hell, I can Google how to do a cheeseburger or sew, or I'm sure there's probably brain surgery on there. I don't know. Probably something I'll check out later. But I honestly think we need to go back to school 5 days. And I would ask, and I'm hoping that Mr. Jordan and Mr. Cope stand firm in what they will believe, how they were. I would ask that Lori and Dr. Joseph and Dr. Ford feel the same way. It's about education, period. And I'm off my soapbox. I'm done. You know where I stand.
Thank you, Derek. I have a couple questions, I think, for the administration. But before I get there, I just want to go back. There's a timeline. I don't want to go through the whole timeline, but on July 9th, we had a special board meeting, and it was presented to us, the reentry plan, or at least the original part of it. And some of you might remember reading it in the Joplin Globe. It was a day in the life of an eagle, and we celebrated it. And I know Dr. Gilbreth put a lot of time, I know Sarah put a lot of time, all of our administration put a lot of time and effort into it, and you're to be committed for that. Anyways, we were told that there would be provisions that we could put in place, and I know, I believe Dr. Gilbreth explained that we could alternate start and stop times at the high school. I don't know what that would look like necessarily, but it could be, the left side of the hallway exits at 9:20 and the right side exits at 9:23. I know you've gone through some of those scenarios, but you shared those with us. You also indicated that we could make one-way traffic in the hallways. And so I know there's some videos and pictures floating around of the crowded hallways in the high school, but you led us to believe that you could modify that and make it safe for our kids. I don't know necessarily what changed between then and now, but if we go back to Tuesday night, it was a 3-3 split. So we have 2 days to hopefully provide some solutions. And so I just wonder, in those 2 days, did the administration come up with possible alternative solutions, or did you reach out to parents? So my specific question would be, did we survey our parents, the parents that are specifically in the high school, to gauge their interest in every other day instruction versus 5 days a week instruction? And if we did, what's the result of that? And if we didn't, I guess, why didn't we take that opportunity? So that's my first question.
You're asking?
I'm asking whoever, I don't know. Did we? Okay. And then I guess the second question would be, since the board was split, were there alternative plans that you wanted to present? It doesn't look like it. It's the same one that was presented the other night. Did you discuss alternative solutions? And if so, what did those conversations look like?
I've had several plans that we tossed around and looked at. In my opinion, the bottom line is, with the number of kids that we have, and the class sizes that we have, that I cannot guarantee that I can socially distance kids in class.
And we understand that. We respect that.
I want to say this. In my heart, I take on the responsibility for every child that walks through that school, okay? And so, in my heart of hearts, I cannot say that I will put your child at risk and I can sleep with that. So, in my opinion, I cannot socially distance 2,300 kids. I don't know where that picture came from with you.
It was a teacher that had sent to Pat or to Dr. Moss.
Right, well, whatever I'm saying, that's a normal passing rate at Joplin High School. There's 2,300 kids there. And you guys, you're the board, and certainly I will live by whatever you guys say. And I will do the very best I can under any circumstances. But my heart of hearts, I want it to be known that I will stand that I do not believe I can safely socially distance 2,300 kids.
Have you looked at other schools of similar size?
Yes, sir.
Did you look at Bentonville? Bentonville has 3,126 students. They're doing a 5-day-a-week reentry, less than an hour away. Geographically similar, more similar in Bentonville than maybe Springfield that has multiple high schools.
I think Bentonville, Arkansas, actually down there, their mask mandate's been going for a long time because we've been down with club soccer. You can't even stand on a parking lot, but their COVID is high.
Well, and I've got those numbers too. So they've got 3,100 students, and they're going 5 days a week with a 100% virtual option. Okay. So the parents get to choose. Sure. Do they take on the responsibility for the risk? Not you. Do they take on the responsibility for sending their student, knowing that you can't 100% guarantee?
Well, I am the principal of Joplin High School.
Their parents.
And
I know.
Let him speak.
And I am willing for that to set on my shoulders.
Yep.
Absolutely willing. I will do anything in my power to make every child and every adult that walks into Joplin High School safe. And that's my number one concern. And if somebody came to schools and was exposed to COVID and they went home and were the cause of a death of an elderly parent or grandparent, that would be on me.
So do you know how many active cases there are in Joplin?
I think currently are there 5?
There's 41. There's 5 hospitalizations.
Right, 5 hospitalizations.
So there's 41. Number of total confirmed cases in Joplin, 376. In Bentonville, 4,355. So we're a tenth of theirs. So they're able to do something differently than we're doing. So maybe they can share. I'm not above using somebody else's idea. Maybe they've got a flow that helps getting through classrooms. They've got more students. They've got 25% staying home, but 75% going in person, and that's 2,300 students. That's more than we have. I mean, our 2,400, you take out the 275 at Franklin Tech, now you're down to, 2,100?
No, those kids come to us half a day.
All of them?
Yes.
Okay, so
I
they're coming anyway.
I don't know what the
5 days a week.
goes to.
Yeah, right. So they're coming anyway 5 days a week.
Right.
I'm also looking, have we looked at other alternatives at the school, at the high school? It's a huge facility, and yeah, I'm trying to come up and I got, just like everybody else, I got 24 emails and lots of ideas, and most of them were positive, trying to find a solution. And one of them had an interesting take and said, well, why not use this building? It was a school, you got space, and I thought, well, that's not quite, okay, there's busing, and how do you do that? But that got me to thinking, what about the other spaces at the high school? You got 3 gymnasiums, you got a wrestling room, you got that whole upstairs, you got the bleachers. If you're going to do an A and a B, have the A people in the classroom and the B people in the cafeteria or in the gymnasium. On these 425 tables we bought 2 nights ago, on each end of the table, get a couple proctors to sit in there. They're going to be listening to their teacher in the classroom. So I would rather them be listening and engaged at the school than at home, and we hope that they're listening and being engaged, because I think the top 10 or 20% of the students could probably do a good job if they're self-motivated. But that's one of the things in here that says for virtual students, they have to be self-motivated, and there was another word that I saw that it was self-driven to do those things. Have you looked at other options of spaces at the high school?
I have, yeah.
And what was the draw? What was the thing that said no, this isn't going to work?
There's PE classes. We would have to tell the PE classes they would have to go somewhere else.
And how many kids are in those PE classes?
Around 40.
Around 40. So you could have, if you socially distance in that room, you could have 400, maybe. So you can in the gym. Is that? I don't know if that's a good number or not. I'm saying, think about the space that we've got. Maybe those 40, let them go outside. It's PE. I mean, unless it's winter. But I wasn't a part of this. I just joined the board 6 weeks ago, so maybe you guys have already talked about this, and if you have, I'm sorry. I don't want to solve the problem. I just want to make sure you've looked at the options. And I know you say it's your responsibility, but I think if you look at the communities around us, the school board is the entity that's responsible. We're accountable to the public. And we are the ones that are supposed to be sharing that voice. And if we take a survey, and of that survey, 280 said we want to do virtual, that's great. The others that didn't say they wanted to do virtual, they assumed they were doing 5 days, doing the best we can. And if you can do better than that, great. But should we let the 280 decide what the rest do? That doesn't seem quite right either. And if we look at that and we say, well, we cut it down to half, well, does that mean some of the 280 will now start going half-time? What if we get 50% of them? So 100 kids might start coming half-time. And instead, you're taking all the rest of the kids and saying, you're only going to be in school half of the year? And that's tough. And I know you're looking from the health side, and I'm looking at the mental side. I'm looking at the emotional side, the development side. If we can have our students at the school, social distance, put them around the walking track upstairs. You can find places, how much square foot at the high school?
485,000 square feet.
Okay, and that's 485,000 square feet, and we've got, you don't need extra teachers because they're going to be sitting at a table somewhere watching the classroom that they're in the other days. And maybe not every classroom has to be socially distanced. If not, the students are already there. They can already go to their class if they have 20 or 15. I think there's other options that we can try before we say, let's just go to our contingency. And it's not a bad contingency. It's a great plan. I want to use it as a backup. I think, and the city, I heard it when the city stopped everything, and then they started releasing. They said, well, maybe we stopped too early, and now everybody's is not worried and not taking care. I'm thinking going to the contingency plan now might do the same thing. Maybe we get 6 weeks in and we go, okay, it wasn't so bad, and then we get hit even harder because we don't have anything else to go to. So I don't want to tell you how to do your job, and I know on your heart you want to take care of every student that walks through, but every parent has the choice. 100% virtual, that's their choice. They can do that. Or knowing that it's not a perfect system, they can send their kids with minimal risk. Their kids are probably statistically more likely to be in a car accident on the way to school than to die of COVID. I looked at the CDC because we're trying to find some numbers, and they have a category that's 15 to 24, and so that's half of the range of the high school. From February 1st to last month, July 28th, there were 202 fatalities in that age group. And so that age band, only half of that's high school age, so maybe out of 200, there were 101 potential fatalities. That's terrible, and I don't like that. But there were 394 cases of pneumonia in that same age bracket. There's other things, and although COVID is real and it affects people differently, our students should, or at least our parents should be able to make that decision, informed decision. And if the board decides, hey, we want to do 5 days a week, I don't believe it's your responsibility if something goes wrong. It lays right here, and that frees you to do your best without worrying about how that makes us look. I think the responsibility is ours, and I think we should let the parents make the choice.
Dr. Gilbert, I couldn't be more proud. No, go ahead, Dr. Ford.
Oh, thanks. I had lots of parents contact me again yesterday and today. About 80% of the ones that contacted me are in favor of the AB schedule, but they also had several different suggestions, and so I forwarded those to you guys. I had a parent contact me that I didn't get to forward because it was later. Can we split the days by grade level like we did after the tornado, like 9th and 10th come together, and then 11th and 12th come together so that they get to be with their friends, because that seems to be a concern. So can we split the days that way instead of splitting by alphabet? And then a secondary question a parent asked was, well, I have 2 children, they have different last names, they're in different parts of the alphabet, but could they come on the same day because they're in the same family?
Deb, we've gotten those questions today as well, and I think I have forwarded answers to different board members related to both those questions. The first question is, if a household has students within the same household that have differing last names, yes, they can come together. And I had that verified through Dr. G today as well. And then in talking about splitting by grade level, that's been a question that's been asked and answered a lot, even prior to today, and among our board members even. The problem that you get with thinking, okay, we'll just have 9th and 10th grade and we'll have 11th and 12th grade comes down to teacher certification and certain classroom sizes, because as you know, we're going to have more kids in a freshman English class than, say, we would have in a physics class or something like that. So even if we had our 9th and 10th graders coming in as a group, or 11th, 12th, or some configuration thereof, maybe it's 9th and 11th and 10th and 12th, but it doesn't reduce the number of kids within the classroom. And so even though we have a lot of square footage at our high school, there's a lot of designated places that lend themselves to instruction and a lot of designated places that do not. And so you still need that certified teacher teaching those courses. And if Dr. G has an elaboration on that, those are the things that came to my mind initially.
Yeah, it's just about teacher certification, and where would those teachers be on the day if they're not certified to teach a specific class, what would they do?
If I may for just a minute, I woke up this morning hoping I was going to make some sort of a brilliant speech, that I was going to come across and just articulate the complexity of what we're dealing with tonight and put everybody at ease, and we'd all feel like we could vote our conscience and leave here and know that we made the right decision. And through the course of the day, I've received a lot of communications from the public, both for and against these plans. From our discussions tonight, I want to make just a couple comments. One of which is, I don't believe there's a single board member who believes we're going to improve education with an AB school week. I don't believe any of us think that. I believe the question is whether an AB school week, when balanced with the health risks associated in a 5-day school week for the students, is the better choice. I also believe, candidly, that Jeff put it very well. This decision, I actually came Tuesday night thinking that this decision was kind of going to be, it wasn't even on the vote. It wasn't even an agenda item to vote on. I came as a board member thinking, okay, my administrators are going to tell me how we're going to start school this year. And I depend upon my administrators and the teachers in our district to decide how we're going to teach our students. I don't know how to teach a student. I'm not a teacher. I don't pretend to be. I'm not an administrator. Don't pretend to be. But when Jeff said tonight that we're taking that burden off of Dr. Gilbreth, and it's my burden, he is exactly right. When we take this vote on, it's on me now. It's on each one of you. And I was hoping that you'd sell me on what they were doing in Bentonville or wherever they're doing it. And the fact that they've got increased COVID, we're not even back in school yet down there. I don't know what measurements we're looking at. I have no idea what anybody's talking about half the time on this stuff. But that wasn't a convincing argument that you were presenting. I mean, you telling me that there's elevated COVID in Bentonville and they're dealing with it is not comforting me on this decision. And I just want everybody to know that my vote tonight is going to be for the overall health of our kids. The people who are doing the teaching are telling me that they cannot protect our kids in a 5-day school week at the high school. And that impacts me personally. And that's not something I'm going to leave up to parents. It seems to me as though the parents who are answering, we're putting the kids in 5-day school weeks. How many of the parents that we're talking about were even high school level parents? And the kids that we're asking on the AB, we're putting them in school half the time. We're not asking them to be a completely absent student. Every other day, under the plan that's been presented to us, they will be in school. That's not a terrible result. I'm impressed with the compromise position that has been presented to us by our administration. And I'm seeing shaking heads, and I really appreciate the public showing out tonight and their comments. I've heard you. I appreciate what you're saying, and I know that I'm going to frustrate your homes if I don't support a 5-day school week. But I also have heard from my administration that the best way to bring our high school students back is on an every other day schedule. Yeah, the kid's going to be out of class every other day, but they're going to be in class half the time. And I hope that in 6-8 weeks, maybe we do bring them back. Maybe we'll learn something from our districts that are nearby. Maybe they'll show us that we should be back in school. But all the mixed messages that we're hearing from our country are that social distancing is the most effective way to keep our people safe. It's going to be the most effective way to keep our students safe. I believe that if we want to be smart about this, we would require masks all the time. That appears to be something that we're trying to get out of. Maybe we should be demanding masks.
Would you demand a mask and have a 5-day week?
My problem is that social distancing, I would be more inclined to do it then, Jeff. But what I'm hearing, there's so much time, the cafeteria time when you're eating and you've got a full student body in there. I mean, they are bunched together. And our restaurants around town, they examine social distance. I don't know how you're going to do that in a school district, although Dr. Gilbreth is trying to make that happen, but I don't know how you do it with a full student body there. There's just a lot going on, a lot we don't know. I had an email today that said that this thing resembles an experiment, and they were critical of the idea of the AB school week. And that person was right. This is an experiment, and we're in it. And I think the question is do you want to experiment with the most acidic potential, or do you want to kind of work your way into the higher risk chemistry? And we're each entitled to different opinions, but if you're asking me to decide, I'm going to be protective of our people more so. But I admit, and I agree with you, this is not the ideal education system. It's not what I want. It's not what anybody wants. It's not what our teachers, it's not what our administrators want. But I will also tell you this, a lot of the objection that I've heard from is from teachers. And that gives me cause for concern.
Sherry, may I share something?
Please.
I had another parent email me today, and this was her suggestion, so I just want to put it out there for discussion. She was in favor of the AB. She said that she felt like it's a national experiment, that our children were the first really to be quarantined, and now our children and our teachers are going to be our national experiment, and she didn't like that our children were going to be national guinea pigs. But her suggestion was we go to the AB schedule for a short period of time, and then we follow whatever is happening in our community with the number of COVID cases and make decisions on when to go to 5 days based on our infection rate, if I've got that right. So I'm just throwing that out there because a parent emailed me that today and asking you guys, what are your thoughts about her suggestion that if we start with AB, at what point do we go by what's happening in our nation? Do we go by what's happening in our community? How do we make that? How and when do we make that decision? I guess is my question.
I agree, Deb, and my quick answer is that this whole thing's so fluid. I'm sure that we're going to be happy to stop on a dime and try something else. And if things are going well, I'm sure that we will want to bring the kids back all the more. I mean, I'm not against a 5-day school week so much as I am afraid of it. I mean, I don't know. It is the unknown. And I'm impacted by what we're told publicly. We have a school board member that does need to get to another meeting right now. I hope everybody's had a chance to speak. You haven't?
No.
Go ahead.
I would like to.
No, go ahead.
Dr. Gilbreth, I want to say I'm proud of having you as a principal. I'm not trying to attack you.
I understand
This
that.
whole situation is frustrating. I know kids and how parents just absolutely adore you. And that is phenomenal. So I want you to know I do appreciate you 100%.
Yeah,
I'm frustrated because I don't want to dumb down our students.
right.
And I'm not saying that in a bad way. We can sit here all night and talk about, I've had teachers say, this percentage is for it, this percentage is against it. I will give my phone to anybody, and I've had one teacher that was against it because her husband is compromised with his health. I've had a school nurse reach out to me today, and I think that was an email that you sent, Dr. Moss, and I reached out to that nurse because she knows my kids. we can sit here and say, well, I've had this 80% or 100% for it or against it. And no, I don't even want to say percentage, because like I say, I can sit here with all kinds of square footages and how many, we have 211.39 square foot per student in the Joplin High School. I can tell you what it is. Well, I don't want to go into that. It is. Sheriff, this is a hard decision. It is. It weighs on us. But I don't want to take the chance. This is not about how you get it. It's about when you get it. It's not about when you're going to get the flu or when you're going to catch a cold or how it's happening. It's when it's going to happen. It's just part. Unfortunately, this is just part of our life now. They're going to come out with the vaccine, and some people will take it and some won't. It's no different than the flu. And I applaud you taking the responsibility. That's like going to war and having your own unit because you want to make sure all your men get home safe. I understand that, but we can't. You can't take care of every single person in the world. I understand that's your personality. I'm the same way. I deal with 648 or 58 real estate agents. I try to, and clients and stuff, and I try to take care of everybody, and I can't do it all the time. That's why I'm run ragged. They're going to get sick, but the mortality rate, the rate of survival is in the 0.001, and I haven't looked lately, but it's low. Education, that's hard to get back. I would much rather use the gym, and I'm going to say this as jokingly as I can, and I'm going to shut my pie hole. I would much rather have some overweight students, because you can get rid of being overweight, but have them educated to the best of Joplin schools' ability, because you can run in the summer. I quit smoking, gained 28 pounds, I'm down 8, because I run now. It's harder because I'm older, my knees hurt. But I'd much rather have some overweight students, and let's utilize our gyms. We have 485,000 square feet. I'm paying taxes on all this. Everybody's paying taxes. Let's utilize what we have. Let's educate our students like we got sworn in to do. And I want to keep them safe. I don't want anybody to get it. But it's going to happen. You know, we're afraid of a disease that we don't know when we have it.
I've got some questions about the instruction during the AB, so that's relevant if it goes that direction. So bear with me. So what for the synchronous, asynchronized, and unplugged, do you have an idea of what percentage of each it would be, or is it up to the teacher?
Well, basically, when you talk about the kids that are engaged, certainly on the day that they are present.
Obviously, the day they're present, they're
right.
with the teacher. I'm
Right.
thinking, at first hour, are they going to have to be logged on in the classroom with that
Right.
teacher? Okay, but they're limited to 30 minutes of being logged on in the proposal. So what happens at the end of the 30 minutes? Can they ask questions?
Yes.
Yes, that time is really to focus on a kid's not sitting on a computer with a teacher just lecturing for
Right.
a whole hour. There's going to be opportunity for, assignments and different things. So it's more focusing on, and if that language needs to be changed to be clarified, we can do that. But really, it's the purpose to avoid a setting where a kid has to be on a computer and a teacher just lecturing the whole time. Doing that, not to exceed those 30-minute direct, explicit instruction, but opportunities, and you may want to go into Canvas.
Yes, to be engaged, and Canvas, which is the learning management system.
Right.
The notion is that a teacher can have all of their lessons and all of their, have videos
Right.
and those kinds of things that are in Canvas and kids have access to, and that they can ask questions and be engaged in that. Certainly, when you look at the days that kids are not present in school, live in the class, I wouldn't begin on any parallel universe to make an argument that is anything like being live. because it's not.
So will you teach the same thing on an A day and then teach it again on a B day when they're present?
Not necessarily. There won't be new concepts. In other words, there won't be, if I'm teaching trigonometry or if I'm teaching geometry, I'm not going to teach angles one day and start proofs the next.
But that means each week you can only teach 2 concepts. How many concepts do you normally teach in a week?
Depends on the rate of the class and how much they
it depends
progress.
on the standards.
And so I'm trying to understand, are you slowing things down to be able to have A and B days?
Dr. G may want to clarify for you as well that on day 1, okay, students will either be in person or they will be remote. That lesson for day 1
Is
you
live.
get no matter if you're in seat or you're at home.
And do we require students to watch that at home?
Yes,
Okay, and how do we monitor that?
because there will be an assignment tied to that. There will be something that they have to do tied to that. And then the next day, those first few minutes of class are geared toward going back over that information, covering the information from the day before and then moving on.
Okay, so during the asynchronous, when are the teachers available for questions? Because they're teaching other classes. Will it be regular office hours for the teachers that those that are at home can contact them to get assistance?
Well, typically the way Canvas works is that, so for example, a teacher may have that lesson videotaped, or they may have something there. The student could log in and ask a question right then, or get with the teacher right away and ask clarifying questions. Canvas has the ability to engage kids that way. I'm not gonna tell you it's like being live.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not.
It's not like a virtual assistant answering questions.
Exactly right.
I understand. Yes.
Yeah. But there's a math teacher at Joplin High School that records every lesson he teaches. And so the kids get it that day. They can go home that night, watch that lesson again as they're doing their homework or as they're engaging in that piece, and then come back the next day, ask questions, and continue on. And those lessons remain there for them to look at. Those videos are there all the time there for them to look at, to go back and to learn.
Do you have some data? Are those stored that you can see how many times they've been viewed?
Absolutely.
I mean, that may be something to, it would be interesting to know. Are they utilizing the
and I know
service?
this teacher does collect that data.
Okay. I mean, that would be great to know, because that's my concern is we're expecting these 14, 15, 16-year-old kids to be online 30 minutes, 7 hours in a row, and be engaged and logged in and ask questions, and that's wonderful. If we can cut off service to Netflix, it may be better, because I think there was a big spike in Netflix and Amazon sales in April and May when everybody was at home. I don't know that our students are especially.
I have 2 parent questions. I'm sorry, I'm trying to hear when there's a
That's
break.
okay.
I don't mean to interrupt.
No problem. I've got one more. And then, will students be expected to learn new content while they're not in class, or only responsible for the homework or practicing?
There again, just kind of like what I said, there will be that idea of new concepts and those kinds of things can be clarified and gotten in the live setting. It's like anything. I mean, imagine if you're teaching anything. If you teach a lesson one day and somebody doesn't get it, and they're back in class the next day and they don't get it, and they're back in class the next day and they don't get it, and they continue to ask clarifying questions, but they never get that concept.
They end up failing.
Right.
And does that happen?
Oh, absolutely.
Does it happen a lot?
Probably more than it should.
Yeah, and that's my fear, is if we're not helping them, if they're not there for us to monitor, even if it's just sitting up in a gym watching over them, and it doesn't have to be an educator.
Right. But if we're speaking perfectly honestly, that happens when it's game on every day.
Absolutely, in class, but you have at least a chance. If they're at home, you have no chance.
Zero.
Well,
Right.
you do, because
Well,
that's
you
when
do
you
with
contact
Canvas.
you contact parents just like you would if they were in class. And you inform the parents, your child isn't participating, they're not completing their
And what do
homework.
the parents do?
Well, I would hope they would do what you would do or I would do.
Well, I know, but what do the parents do? I mean, your experience, are most parents take the same care and effort that we might?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Even if they don't, what's the difference? I mean,
What's the
parent is
difference?
not at
Oh,
the
my
school.
gosh. Yeah, but it's our role, our responsibility to educate the students. It's not the parents.
And we are
Dr.
providing
Gilbert is
them.
telling you that role is not changing.
The role is not changing. I believe the outcome is changing. And you said it yourself, they're only here half the time. I think that it's more valuable for them to be here than to not. I don't know how much instruction happened at the end of the year, and I won't fault you because you didn't know this was going to happen at the end of the year. And if you did, then you would have a backup plan, some type of contingency, which you have now. I mean, if this is the case that we can do it and just record all the stuff, if he's got all of his lessons from last year, we don't even need him as a teacher, right? You just tell him to go watch all the videos.
Jeff, I disagree. They're being educated full-time. Virtual learning is education. So I
Yes,
I
is virtual
disagree.
learning as effective as in-person learning?
Probably not.
Probably not. So,
I don't have any research on that, do you?
yeah, it's a good question. I don't know. Being a teacher, I figured you maybe had some experience with that.
Well,
but-
when I taught, they didn't have virtual learning, so yeah, I don't have much experience with that.
Okay.
But they're still being educated full-time.
Yeah, please do.
Thank you. And I apologize. I watched the last board meeting because my call got dropped and I couldn't get through. So if you discussed this, I apologize if I didn't see it. Two things I heard from parents today. Number one is, what if my kid gets behind? Is there any tutoring available? And number two is, last year my daughter emailed the teacher 5 times and he never emailed her back. How are you going to guarantee communication between students and faculty? So I think those are Steve questions.
Yeah, so I think if I heard that,
Is there tutoring?
oh, tutoring, absolutely, yeah. And, you know, the idea of whether schools, however school is this year, I am asking parents of kids who are not successful in school to have a mandatory after-school 3-hour tutoring session, 2 nights a week, 3 hours. I'm asking for that. I'm asking parents to partner with us because we have a whole lot of kids that are not successful. And engaging with families and reaching out to them is the absolute only way to make a child successful. And they need to first understand that we're here for them, number one, for their success. And so we are asking that happens. However education comes about this year, that is still something that we're going to request, and that myself and all of the building administrators at Joplin High School in our weekly administrative meetings will be to look at failure rates, who is doing it every week, absolutely every week, and reaching out to parents and asking them, can you please partner with us and make sure that your child is staying after school so that he or she can catch up on either missing concepts or missing work, and so that then we can at least attempt to bridge that gap from failure to success.
I appreciate that, but I think that's our job. I mean, we should have been doing it all along if students weren't making it. Get the parents involved. If the parents aren't involved, see if they can come to a study session, whatever it is they need to do.
They have been doing that all along.
One question.
Well, then why are we saying that we're going to do it now?
Someone just texted, what about
Because it's not a normal school year, so we're going to make sure that we
We're still going to.
do it. Yes.
We're still going to. Not that we're going to. We're still going to.
Yes,
Something we've
absolutely.
always done. Okay, go ahead.
I'm just, a parent just texted, what if a student, because there still are some that parents can't afford internet.
Right.
What are we going to do with the parents that can't? I know Josh Ford, he works for Sprint, and I think he was looking into grants where Sprint would do some
Yeah,
hotspots.
and I know the technology folks here are as well. Yeah. Looking into that, I know they've installed some things outside of the high schools.
Where they can go in the parking lot.
Right,
And
right.
that's,
And I realize that doesn't work for everyone.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if he calls in.
So on extracurricular activities? I know we've focused on the main part. Will athletes be able to participate in practices or games if it's on their work from home day? If it's on their day or not in the school?
Yes.
So they can still come to school, but, okay.
Absolutely.
And will we give them transportation like we do to and from school?
It depends. I mean, we've talked about that.
Okay. And then will the district allow students that are not in class the day before a game to participate? Because that's been one of the
Yes.
rules.
Right.
If
You have to be
you're
in
gone,
school to-
you can't participate.
Right.
Okay, good. And so the day before, if they're not online checking in and watching and logged, is that the key then for them not participating? Or do they get to participate if it happens to be that was their day at home? Do they have to, are you going to look in and see if they were participating, or does everybody get to be able to do that? Does that make sense?
Not really. Ask me that.
So,
I'm sorry.
it used to be if they're not there, they can't do it. Well, will all of the coaches look to see if those students were not there the day before? Because
Logged in virtual is what you're saying.
Right.
Yes, thank you.
Or live, you mean.
But will the coaches do that? Is that their responsibility then to make sure that they?
The coaches ultimately look at failure rate. What's your grades right now? And if not, then they make them do it.
And then, will there be clubs before and after school? And are students allowed to be at school if it's their off day to attend a club?
Yes.
Okay.
If there's a club and if we can socially distance.
And will there be an A and a B club? If you've got Key Club, which is big, will there be one on Monday and one on Tuesday, so you've got different groups?
I haven't talked to those people about those specific clubs.
Okay. Band, choir, football, cross country, if they practice daily before school, are there students that are on their off day, do they have the ability to get breakfast?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. They get breakfast and then they go home. Do they ride the bus home, or do they have to find their own transportation home?
Well, that depends. That would be something we're working out.
And these are just things that have come to mind.
Right.
And if we're going to go down this route, I want to make sure that you guys have got this because
Right.
We
not
won't
much
let
time.
anyone go hungry.
Yeah. Are students on their off day allowed in the building to access the principals, the library, the nurse, and counselors?
Absolutely.
Or, okay, I want to make sure. So if it's a B day and they're an A student, they
Right.
can come in anyway.
If they have, you mean like if they needed to see a counselor?
If they needed to see somebody, are you gonna have
Sure.
somebody at the front door checking them to say, you're a B student and it's an A day? What are you here for?
Well, there would be somebody, there's somebody at the front door that checks everything.
No, but it's a student. They're both students. So it's a student coming in, so is somebody gonna question every student that walks in? Are you an A student or a B student to see which day it is?
I suspect so.
Okay.
Because the front desk kids have to sign in if they're regardless of.
But if they have an emergency situation, I'm sure that help will be provided.
Yeah. Okay. And for food service, are we going to provide meals to those students on their off day at school? So can they come pick it up?
Yes, well, we've talked about that. And I've talked about
Okay.
we'll either do a curbside pickup, and I'm going to reach out to the Bright Futures folks and see if we can get some volunteers that would deliver food to some areas.
And can they come to school on an off day and eat at school?
They could come, probably not eat in school, but they could come and eat.
I mean, like the grab and go
Absolutely.
social distance?
Absolutely.
Okay, because I think sometimes kids are going to want to be with their friends. If they know they can come at lunch and see their friends socially distant, maybe that's...
They wouldn't be able to come into the cafeteria on and off.
Yeah, but how do we know if it's their day or not?
Well, they would come in the front doors and we would.
And every student coming in the front door's got a badge or something that only works on the A day or the B day?
No, but they would sign in at the front desk. Every student has to sign in.
Do they sign in every day?
If they,
Students coming in?
If they come in late after first hour has started, then yes.
But if they come in at the same time with everybody else, we'll just never know.
Yeah, you're
Okay,
right.
no problem. That's dual credit. Are there any additional considerations for the Missouri Southern or the Crowder about being in person or online, or is that anything that we have any control over? Are those actually instructors from Crowder or Missouri Southern?
our dual credit classes are
Yes.
taught by our
They're
teachers.
taught by your teachers, but
Yeah.
there's not a requirement from the school to have seat time. It could be a virtual instruction that we're giving, and Missouri Southern's fine with that.
That they will, as long as they fulfill all of the academic requirements of that class, yes.
I just want to make sure we don't mess somebody up
Right.
that's planning and
Right.
say, well, you didn't actually attend enough times. That's it on mine. Those are all.
Steve, I have a question on, it sounded like we may not get through the bulk of the curriculum because it's without introducing new concepts. Is that safe to say on a daily basis?
I couldn't.
Okay. Well, my question then would be, is it safe to say that like it's going to take twice as long to do assessments?
To do assessments?
Yeah, so if we do a formative or pre-test, post-test, or formative, doesn't matter. But
You know,
will
that
they be
depends.
testing at home, or will they be testing?
They're like a formative assessment they could do at home. You know, a lot of times grades aren't taken off formative assessments. Just summative assessments or like a group work activity or a piece of homework. But when you say a formative assessment, to get a benchmark or a progress monitoring tool, they don't take grades off that anyway. So,
But a summative would then, you would take 2 days, so they wouldn't be testing at home?
correct.
Yeah,
Well,
okay.
correct.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. And then I want to go back to my first question. I don't know if it was answered, but I'm very curious why we didn't send a survey to our parents to find out or to gauge their interest in the every other day attendance from the high school. Because
We moved the date back, why can't we?
well, I feel like, and I don't know what the number is, but Steve, let's just imagine that 100% of our high school parents said 5 days a week, and that's not going to happen. But would that be enough to convince you, oh, well, then we should open? Or would you still be steadfast in the every other day?
You know,
Or if it's, I don't know what the percentage would be that would change maybe some opinion, but is that worth finding out?
here's the thing. Nothing is going to change my opinion about the safety of our kids. And so this A Day, B Day plan, there's no perfect educational system anywhere under any circumstances. And my whole thought behind every bit of this is, in my heart of hearts, when it comes down to, can I guarantee, can I go home at night and sleep and know that I have socially distanced and I have not exposed any of our kids to a dangerous situation? And under the present circumstances, I can't. So if 100% of the people said, I want our kids in 5 days a week, and you guys voted, I want our kids in 5 days a week, I would do the very best I could to make this happen. But I'm going to tell you that it doesn't have anything to do with the popular opinion. I'm going on what I know in my heart of hearts is that, can I keep kids safe? Okay? And so it has nothing more to do with anything other than that. I think the greatest thing that we can do for a child is to put them on the path to success. Okay? And so, but the first thing that I need to know that I can do to do that is to provide a safe place for them to come to every day. Okay? And so if I think, if I exposed your son to something and well, that was an accident, I surely didn't mean for that to happen, I would expect for you to ask me, can you help me understand how you allowed this to happen to my son? And I'm not talking about just COVID, I'm talking about anything.
Well, and that's the thing. There's other issues, other safety issues than COVID.
Right, but
My son
right-
broke his foot last week.
But right now.
And that's
what
just
we're-
a risk that he takes when he's playing sports or
That's
other
correct.
things.
But right now, what we're dealing with is a pandemic that's worldwide. And it's greater, the vastness of this is beyond any of our knowledge base, okay? I don't have all the answers. I'm certainly not the doctor at the end of my name. It has nothing to do with medicine, okay? It has to do with kids. And so I can't speak intelligently about who's going to get COVID, who's not going to get COVID. All I can say is I don't want anybody to, and I want to make sure that everybody is safe on my watch. That's That's what it comes down to. And please understand, I'm not offended by what you guys
Right,
are
I know.
asking me, or I'm not taking this personally. This is not, I don't feel like it's a personal affront. But I want you to know that my opinion's not going to change by virtue of popular opinion. I'm here for kids.
So is your opinion today the same as it was on July 9th? When the day in the life came and said we're going to put kids back in school 5 days a week? Is your opinion the same?
My opinion, I'm not exactly sure.
Well, you said that you weren't going to put anybody safe. You weren't going to put anybody in danger. You weren't going to do anything that would potentially harm our kids. Well,
Right, and
we
I
were presented
wasn't-
a day in the life that said they're going to be there 5 days a
And
week.
at the time, going on that information, I believed that we could.
So
Okay?
what's changed? That's what I want to know. Just what's changed?
Looking at the numbers, it's just the sheer numbers at Joplin High School.
Okay, the number of students? Did
The
we
number
get
of
more
students.
students
The
between
number
then
of
and now?
students, yeah. The number of
I
students.
mean, you're being pretty antagonistic.
Yeah,
I know.
I know.
I mean, you understand, he has examined it further to try to present.
I
I mean,
understand.
I really appreciate the question, but I don't think that it's caged very fairly. Since then, he's been developing a plan, and as he's putting it in place, it appears as though he is expressing to us that he was put in charge with putting a safe plan in place, and he couldn't figure out how to do it with 2,300 students. And maybe on July 9th, he thought, I'm going to be able to get this done. As he went through the process of the reentry in school, he was figured, boy, I just don't think I can do it with 2,300. I might be able to do it with, 1,150. But
That's what I'm
I
trying
can't
to
do it
see.
with 2,300.
Is there some other resource we can give him that changes his mind?
But apparently, I can't answer that. But I think he's tried to answer it about 5 times. And he has
I have a question for Steve, please.
Please.
Okay, thank you. This is a very fluid situation we're in. Steve, maybe a month ago, felt like he could do that. Things have changed in our community. We were a hot spot. I trust Steve to do what he thinks is best for kids. If we go to AB, Steve, when do we need to reconvene to look to see when is it safe to come back? And I know you can't predict that because there's no predictability in a national pandemic, but do we discuss this again at the next board meeting? What should be the plan?
I think we had talked about doing that monthly.
I would say, yeah, and as the paperwork that I gave you guys the last time, I think at the very bottom of the A-Day, B-Day, I gave you a semester. And I said that this could change before or after this. It's always in my mind, it's always been, if in 3 weeks we decide, it looks like nothing's happened. To me, the A-Day, B-Day schedule, the other part I want to make clear that you said, have you looked at other things? I have. And anything else that tears up our schedule, that puts kids in other locations, that puts teachers in other teaching assignments, that does anything, undoing that would be a disaster, okay? First of all, doing that now, we have over 1,400 sections at Joplin High School. And so to create that master schedule and to make that truly come by any time, please, I've built master schedules now for 16 years, and I can talk master schedules to anybody, any day. I feel on that, I am a doctor, okay? And I will tell you this, if you tear up a master schedule, then you have done more harm to a group of teachers and a group of kids, and it becomes a frustration. So when you look at the A-Day, B-Day, if on Friday you said, it's game on, we're going back to school Monday, what do we need to do? Tell everybody they're coming back to school. What has to change to make it happen? Absolutely nothing. And that is the beauty of that system. It changes nothing for anybody under any circumstances. And if you said, well, aren't you going to have to change the way no.
But if the B students, instead of being at home on their computers, were in the Performing Arts Center, in the gym, somewhere, you would have to change nothing.
I would have to change nothing.
Absolutely. So if they
I
were...
would have to add, the state of Missouri says that if you have 75 kids or more, you will have somebody supervise them by law.
Yeah, you're going to have some proctors or something.
Right.
But Is
I
that,
don't know that I have those extra.
well, but maybe we have paras that can't be in classrooms now because of other things. I mean, Steve, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, I'm just
Right.
trying to find a
Right,
solution.
and I would
That's
just
not
tell you
allowable.
that
We can't have,
is
yeah.
going to be.
They have to be certified.
Their day is dictated by an IEP, an individual education plan.
And what about those IEPs? Are they
Oh, my
able to
gosh.
come all
Every day.
every day?
Every day.
And how many IEPs are there?
333, 332.
So you got 332 IEPs that are every day, 275 of the Franklin Tech that are every day. So now you're down to 1,500 kids. So is it half of those kids, or the IEPs get mixed in there?
50/50, it's all mixed.
In all due respect, I don't know why we're grilling Dr. G. This is a proposal that's been presented by the task force, the administration, and that's what we need to vote on, is not trying to tell them or ask questions on how they're going to do this. That's their job. They're the educators. Our job is not to tell them how to educate students or give them other advice on how to do it, whether we think that we're able or not. So I would like to make a motion that we accept the proposal that was presented to us on Tuesday night from the administration of sending the kids back to school half-time and also doing virtual learning.
I would
And
like to
that's-
second that motion.
And to clarify, that's only the high school because you are
That's only the high
voting
school.
on the K-8 plan as well.
Okay, yes, you're right. Good point. That's only the high school.
Extension to the end of day next Thursday, August 6th.
And
We
I
have-
might add that on the recommendation that is in your action item, is he there?
No, he went off, so. But yes, I'm sorry if I didn't say that motion correctly. I'm glad to.
No, I just want to get back to Deb's question, because in your action item, the way it's written is with the expectation that the district, in conjunction with the Board of Education, will revisit the plan's implementation as the
Yes.
school year
Absolutely.
proceeds and situations warrant. So we have every intention of updating and monitoring and coming to the board and talking about this. And if it needs to be a regular topic for a while, it certainly can be.
Well, like Sherry said,
Thank you, Mindy, for clarifying that. I appreciate that.
we all want our kids back in school full-time. So yes, I think reevaluating it monthly is a must.
Yes.
I would like to second that motion that Lloyd made.
Now that it's open for discussion, I have a few things I'd like to say.
I think it's been open for discussion.
Please, let's let him talk. Go ahead, Brian.
Well, it's been seconded, so now it's open for discussion. But it sounds to me like we want to err. If we're going to err, we want to err on the side of caution. And I feel like we've already done that once this year, and I don't think that went very well for our students. So when I'm referring to our graduation, and Dr. Gilbert, I know you did everything in your power to provide our seniors with the best graduation
Are you there?
ceremonies or experiences
Okay, I
possible,
got you.
and we all commend you on that. But the fact of the matter is that every school in our area managed to successfully
Yeah, just
host a graduation, and our kids didn't get to experience that. I know I received concerns from parents and students alike. I say every area student, actually Carthage is doing theirs tonight, but they've all done it and they all did it successfully. So I don't think that we want to try to guide our direction by erring on the side of caution, because it didn't work very well, at least in my opinion, for that. So I also want to add that our high school students are severely behind. We are well below the state average in math. We're well below the state average in English. We're 6% below the state average in English. We're almost 10% below the state average on our state assessments in math. In addition to that, we are at the very bottom in our area at 34% of proficient and advanced in mathematics. We're below Carl Junction, we're below Webb City, we're below Carthage, we're below Neosho. And in English, it's just about the same, although we score a little higher than Carthage. And so all of those schools that I mentioned, they're all our neighboring schools, and all of them have put together a plan that puts their kids in school 5 days a week. And I am very concerned that our students will fall even further behind if we're only educating our students in the classroom 2 or 3 times a week. So that's a concern of mine. And I want to leave you with this. I made a list of, if this proposal, if this recommendation goes through, who's it going to benefit and who's it going to hurt? And I understand you're doing everything you can to keep the kids safe, but I think if we only focus on keeping kids safe from the COVID virus, we're missing so many other things. And so the list I have, who's this going to benefit? And I think it's important to go over. I think it's going to benefit our office staff, because if they only have half the students that they'll have to contact parents or health officials, as far as contact tracing is concerned, it cuts their job in half. Or absenteeism. It's going to benefit our administrators, because half the student body, you're probably only going to have half the discipline problems or issues. It'll definitely benefit our teachers. Half the classroom size is obviously going to increase their ability to successfully teach. It may benefit some students, the students who are anxious about going to school on a full day. It could benefit those students. And it could also benefit probably our staff in the food service. If they only have half the students to serve, they might benefit from this. And I know there's going to be hopefully some items in place that they'll be able to deliver or make food for other. So maybe it won't benefit them at all, but I wanted to put them in that category. I don't know who else it's going to benefit, but I certainly can give you a list of who it's going to hurt. And first off, it's going to hurt our parents. So we have parents who are now going to have to find suitable supervision for their students 2 to 3 times a week. And I think that's going to be a burden on our parents. It's also going to hurt our students. It's going to hurt our students who are struggling in math. It's going to hurt our students struggling in English. It's going to hurt our students struggling as English as a second language. It's going to hurt them severely, their education anyway. It's going to, kids who struggle with science, it'll hurt them. Kids who struggle maintaining focus or struggles already with attention deficit disorders or fill in the blank, they'll be hurt with this plan. Students who struggle with social issues, emotional issues, suicidal ideologies, those students will be hurt if we implement this plan. Students who come from socioeconomically struggling homes, students who do not have a strong or structured support system at home, those students are going to struggle. They're going to be hurt by this. Students who are struggling to graduate, students who attend or want to attend a challenging post-secondary education, they're going to struggle because of this. They're going to be hurt because of this. The 53% of the students who failed classes at the high school last year, those students will especially be hurt with only 2 to 3 days of attendance. Students who lack supervision at home, students who are considering or already implementing or experimenting with alcohol or drugs, and with limited supervision at home, they're going to be hurt by this plan. Students do not have sufficient nutrition at home. I could go on, and I'm not going to, but I'll just say this, that every decision that a board makes, or individual board members, it should be made with one purpose in mind. One purpose. What's best for the kids? What's best for our students? And that should guide our board's decision.
I agree 100%.
I would like to comment to that, please. I would like to say I attended the Joplin High School graduation, and it was lovely. And I think Steve did a wonderful job putting it together.
He did.
4 board members attended, 3 chose not to. Those that attended, I think, really enjoyed it. Yes, it was different, but we're living in different times. Your second point about it benefiting our staff and our administration and our teachers, no. We went online in Missouri Southern. Let me tell you, you work harder when you're doing in person and you're doing online. And our teachers and our staff care considerably about our students. And for you to say it's a benefit to them to go to this plan, it's not. They're going to work extremely hard. That's all I want to say.
I would like to comment to what she said. She said 3 board members chose not to go. I was actually out of town.
No, I said 4 board members attended, 3 did not.
You said 3 chose not to go, and it wasn't a choice. I was actually out of town, so I want to bring it up because I love it.
I understand. I apologize for that wording, Derek. I understand.
Okay,
being out of town.
I want to clarify that because I was actually out of town. I was on tour. I had to
I was out of town and am out of town on vacation in tried to call him Tuesday night and was unable, so I apologize for saying, chose not to. We're not there. is what I should say.
Thank you, Debbie.
And Deb, I wasn't trying to indicate that it would be easier for the teachers this year. Just the in-class portion, it's going to be easier on them. They will benefit because there's fewer kids in their class. It was just a generality, but they're going to struggle as well. They'll struggle as well.
Right, the students will benefit from having more one-on-one.
Yeah, or teacher.
So I want to say one other thing. And I'm sure we all want to say one other thing. I love the passion. I really do. But I don't believe a single one of us is going to offer a vote that they in any way, shape, or form believe is putting the students second. I don't believe that. And one benefit that you didn't list is the potential health benefit of reducing the potential of spreading the coronavirus, which is the whole reason we're here tonight. You totally dismissed that, or you didn't address it, and that is the risk that we are truly trying to limit. And I think it's unfair for us to sit here and say that a vote for an AB school week in any way, shape, or form is a vote against the best education we can offer these kids. There's more at stake than school. There apparently, according to the world, is a health pandemic that we are addressing tonight. And that has to be somewhere in the equation, and it is clearly the only thing that is motivating me to vote the way I'm voting.
Yeah, and I would just say that we are addressing that. We're addressing that with masks and social distancing and maybe putting up partitions in between students, and we are addressing that. That's all. But I think it's just my opinion that would be sufficient.
And I appreciate that, and I appreciate your opinion on that. Thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
Discussion? Now I can offer an amendment to the motion. I'd like to amend the motion that was presented and include a date of September 25th to be our last day of the split schedule, with the understanding that any time that we meet, we can change that. But if we have a goal, a target that we can put our efforts to, I think that gives us a better chance of reaching our goal of getting all of our students back to a healthy and safe environment. And I think if we don't put a goal on it, we will never know what a hot spot is. 41 cases out of 50,000 people in town. That's a hot spot. So the only tangible thing I can give is a date, unless somebody wants to say a number of,
Well,
I'll back up the motion.
I think we plan on addressing it every time we get together.
Okay.
If that's in the motion, isn't it? That Mindy clarified?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So
So I don't think we need an addendum
there's
because it's
an
already in there.
emotion.
okay, just one last thing, and then what are you going to use as a gauge to go back to 5 days? What are we going to use to gauge?
I don't know.
Okay.
My motion said September 25th.
Okay.
So, I mean, we're going to meet before then, but it gives us a target at least. That's 8 weeks of school.
There is.
I would second that.
It's been moved and seconded that we amend the motion. I would ask that we vote on the amended.
What was the original date in the first motion?
There's no original
Oh.
date. I
Reevaluate
merely
monthly.
said that in conjunction with the board,
We would
we
reevaluate
would
monthly.
reevaluate this, and honestly, constantly. And you just moved the start of school to August 24th, so that is not 8 weeks of school.
It's 8 weeks of time. Is that right?
And how can we put a date? If I'm understanding correctly, Jeff, your motion says that they will go back on September 25th. Is that what your motion says?
That would be the end of the AB schedule. We have two board meetings before then.
We don't know what our data is going to show us between now and then.
You're
We don't
welcome
know
to
what
vote
October's
how you
gonna
need
be.
to.
So I think we have it in the original motion that we are going to meet and discuss every board meeting. Steve will bring his data to us and we will discuss it and then make a decision again.
Deb, then if you feel that way, you would oppose the amended motion.
That may be on the floor.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have to be able to see his face for him to vote, correct?
Start on August
No.
24th.
We didn't see his face.
No, he was here when we started, and we're
Okay.
okay.
I just wanted to make sure that we were doing that properly.
Let's go ahead and vote. We got a motion and a
On the
So
amended.
just to be clear, we're voting on the amended with the date?
Correct.
Okay, no.
Yes.
Now, we're voting what? That we're going
My- Yeah,
school?
we are voting
On the
on Jeff's
amendment.
amendment.
Okay.
Amended motion.
Right. We have one no, we have one yes, and it is your turn to vote.
But I want to clarify something. The amended motion says we will go back on the 25th. Is that correct?
No, it
Not
ends on the
taking into
25th, that's a
account that.
Friday.
Yeah, he says that that we would begin 5 days school weeks after September 25th.
I just want to clarify that everybody understood what that amendment
Right.
was.
So, Mike, are you
It's
yes
kind of
or
hard
no?
on the phone.
My answer is no.
Yes.
Yes.
My vote is no.
No, that is defeated.
Now, can we vote on the original
Well,
motion?
I'm not really sure procedurally where we are since we had an amended motion
Yes.
that we
Yes.
defeated. Can we vote on the original motion without the amendment?
Yes.
Yes.
We are now voting on the original motion without the amendment. Please vote.
Yes.
No.
Mike?
Now, this is the vote to do what the school,
Yeah.
this is what we have recommended.
Yes?
Yes, my answer is yes.
No.
No.
My answer is yes.
Yes. That is apparently passed. I believe that that brings us to our adjournment.
Would you accept the motion to adjourn?
I do accept that motion to adjourn.
I'll say this before the vote. I just want to say that part of our board responsibilities, after a decision has been made, that all board members need to support that decision. And I hope that the 7 of us can get together and help the administration to.
But not get together.
No. Get behind it and help everyone be as successful as
Agreed.
possible. So.
Thank you, Brent. And if I may reiterate, I know that every vote tonight was taken with the expectation of putting our students first. And I'm as frustrated as anybody. So is there a second?
I'll second
to
that.
Thank you, Jeff. It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn. Please vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
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 Yes. Thank you all very much.
Steve, good luck, buddy. We're behind you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, I don't know whose phone I'm holding. Is it?